you know, there's so many things running through everybody's heads. Is my family going to be safe? Oh my gosh, what about my employees? Is my business going to survive this? There's so many unknowns. And I really felt like I was in this like vortex, and you know, there was a lot of fear and confusion and uncertainty. But let's see, it's about 2.5 weeks later, and I feel like I've finally been able to get to a place where I can be have some relief with the information that I've learned, to have I guess, relief that, you know, I think that my businesses can survive this. And on top of that, I think that my team will be able to weather this storm, right? So, you know, once I kind of got that, felt comfortable with that, I reached out to Holly in the Women's Chamber and said, you know, let me share this, because this is, I felt like if this can give me some like I own 4 restaurants, and when the COVID-19 hit, we had to close down 3 of them. So we have one business that is one restaurant that's still open. It is drastically reduced hours, and our revenue has really plummeted. So you know, that's three restaurants we had to shut down, and with April 1st coming, how are we going to meet all our bills, right? Because for most of us, our overhead costs, our fixed costs are constant, and you know, we're not going to get any relief from those. So I wanted to share with you all 2 programs that I was able to look into and apply for, that I really urge every one of our small businesses, if you're eligible, to apply for them as soon as possible. Both are administered by the Small Business Administration. And like Holly said, we have Angel Paulino on the call, and she's working with the Small Business Development Center. So Angel, if what I'm sharing is a little off base or something, please chime in, because really what I'm sharing is just my understanding, that I hope that you guys can, you know, take and run with, right? And Angel's here to keep me in line. So the first one is the COVID Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And this loan is, again, administered by the Small Business Administration, and it gives working capital to small businesses for things like payroll, rent, utilities, bills that were coming due that you know, you can't pay because of your loss of revenue. So the clincher for me when I was looking at possibly applying for this loan, because I'm sure many of us small business owners out there, we already have loans with banks. Maybe when we started our business, we took on a loan to get us started, and we're still working to pay that off. So the prospect of taking on another loan that we're going to have to start paying once we get back in business on top of the existing loan was, you know, it didn't sound like a very good option for me, for our businesses at least. You know, we don't know how the market and economy is going to recover after this whole thing hopefully ends, right? You know, my husband Lenny and I have been talking about it. We believe that people's habits are going to be very changed, so that when we look back at what our revenue was before, we don't see us reaching those same revenue numbers for a long while. So with that a loan we may already have, and knowing the cash flow of our businesses, it didn't really make sense. But then the more I learned about this economic injury disaster loan, I was just blown away. So if you apply for the loan, there's a box that you can check to be considered for the $10,000. It's basically a grant. So if you apply for the loan, you check that box and you get approved for the loan, then if you spend the loan money exactly how you're supposed to spend it, so again, that's for payroll, for your rent, for your utilities, those kinds of bills. If you spend it and you keep the records, that you've spent the money exactly on those things only, then the SBA will forgive up to $10,000 of that loan. So for me, that was just the clincher. I was like, wait, what? If I get the loan and I spend it how I'm supposed to, and I know I'm going to spend it how I'm supposed to, and I'm going to keep the records, it's basically free money, right? So, I spoke with Miss Jane Ray from SBDC yesterday, and I was like, I don't know how much I'm going to need. I don't know how long this is going to go on for. And her advice to me was, Pika, just apply now. And by the time your application comes up and approvals coming through, you can decide then how much you're going to ask for, right? And so I said, all right, let me do it. So I just jumped online. And the way you can apply is go to sba.gov, and it takes you to the main SBA page. And at the top of the website, there's a yellow banner that says like apply now for the COVID relief. And then that takes you to another page where you, excuse me, you have to click what kind of business you are and make some attestations. And then it takes you to the application page, which is actually probably the simplest loan application I've ever had to fill out. So there's that, and we can get in. I can help you guys. We can get into each step of the or each field for the application if you want to get that far. But I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what the economic injury disaster loan with the SBA can do for your business.
Hey, Pika, it's Angel.
Yes.
Hey, so I just have to go back and clarify some things.
Okay.
So on the economic injury disaster loan program, there is no loan forgiveness option. What you're talking about is Paycheck Protection Program. Payment Protection Program provides a loan forgiveness option. Again, that has to be approved and reviewed by the lending institution. EIDL is directly with the Small Business Administration. It's up to $2 million. So when you do apply online, that 10K grant that you had mentioned, just so that we're clear, not every business is going to get $10,000 in grant money. It's all based on the loan officer's review of your application. So for example, if you're requesting for an EIDL for $10,000, the grant is not going to be for $10,000. It could be that they're going to provide you $500, $2,000, $5,000, but the option is up to 10K. It's not guaranteed that all applicants will get up to $10,000 in grant money. Also, just to clarify, the grant up to $10,000, if you are disapproved for the loan, you don't have to pay that grant back. So if, for example, you're requesting for $15,000 and they decide we can be able to give you this advance. So SBA calls it an advance. If in that time that they're reviewing your application and they've released funds to you, according to SBA's requirements, SBA can release up to 3 days after they've reviewed your application and advance. And if during that review period they decide, actually, we're going to disapprove the loan, if they've already given you that advance, you do not have to pay that back. So that's just to clarify things.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. So I guess, again, the amount that you won't have to pay back, you don't know at this point. I think the message is just get your application in, and when it comes time, see what you can get. But right, is that right?
Yes. SBA is encouraging for business owners to get their application as soon as possible. The process could take up to 3 weeks, could be more, because they are experiencing a high volume of requests and applications that are coming in. So just to also clarify, your application, should you submit, is being submitted to national and regional SBA offices. Your local SBA office is not processing these applications.
Okay. Thanks, Angel.
Yeah, no problem. It's forever changing piece. Like that's just how it is.
Yeah. You know, I'm still optimistic with this. You know, like you said, up to $10,000 could up to $10,000 advanced could be basically considered a grant you wouldn't have to pay back. But like you said, every small business is different, and it depends on, you know, your loan application, right? So for me, you know, at the advice of Miss Jane, I applied, and I actually applied for all of my businesses. We applied for Kitchen Lingo and Kadu, and our consulting business. So, you know, I think the message is just get out there and apply if you haven't already. And then, you know, like Angel said and Holly said, things are changing pretty rapidly, pretty quickly. So the sooner you get your application in, if things change for you, by the time your application gets reviewed and you're able to really see the amount of money that you could access, what Ms. Jane explained to me is you can decide at that point how much money you're going to request for the loan. So that was the one that you know, brought me some sunshine in my rainy days, worrying about my team and our businesses. And then the second program that I wanted to present was the Paycheck Protection Program. And that was another one that I was able to look into, and I spoke with Ms. Jane Ray about. So this Paycheck Protection Program is another SBA program, but it's a loan program that's administered by our local banks. So I don't know if any of you are Bank of Guam people, but Bank of Guam sent out an email to, I'm guessing, all of their commercial banking clients. And so I got an email from Bank of Guam that said, hey, we're ready to, we're going to administer the Paycheck Protection Program for the SBA. They're going to start processing applications tomorrow, which is Friday, April 3rd. They sent out the application in the email, and then Ms. Jane Ray also provided a fact sheet. And both the application and the fact sheet was included in the Women's Chamber email about this Zoom meeting. So you can go back to that email and download those two documents to see, to learn more. But basically, this Paycheck Protection Program, once you apply for it, you know, you send it to the bank, and then they review it. They go through the whole processing. But what the Paycheck Protection Program can do for you is, again, it's a loan. It's a very low interest rate loan to your company, and if you use the loan proceeds the way that you should be using it, you can apply for loan forgiveness for those amounts. So when I'm reading the fact sheet, it says if you use 75% of the loan proceeds to pay your employees, and so you pay your employees, and then you have to keep everybody's salary level the same as it was before the disaster, right? Before COVID-19 hit us. So if everybody's salaries are the same and you have the same employees, I think it's the same number of employees that you're paying. So basically you're paying paychecks as if nothing bad happened. If you do that, I think it's for the 8 weeks after you've been given the loan, and you've used 75% of the loan to do that, then you can apply for loan forgiveness. And I'm sure, it's, I don't know how much will be forgiven, right? You're applying for loan forgiveness for this one. But the rest of the funds, so the 25% of the funds that you aren't using for your paychecks, for your team's paychecks, can again go to working capital. So rent, utilities, interest on your mortgage payments, So yeah, that's that one. Angel, you got anything?
Yeah, so let me add to your to what you're talking about. Everything that you're saying is right on point. So I know that Bank of Guam is participating in the 7A program. 7A, this is, so the Paycheck Protection Program is under the 7A SBA loan program. So you can be able to apply for loan forgiveness, but again, that is under the discretion of the loan officer. You would have to be able to keep all your documents together and put in a request to the lender that you're requesting for loan forgiveness. Again, it is not an automatic option. You still have to request it and provide the documentation that shows that you use those funds for that purpose of payroll. Now, it still has to cover payroll within that period of, since we had been in this COVID-19 situation. So it can't be for anything outside of that. It has to be within that 8-week window. It's specific about what the expenditures for payroll are used. So it has to be during the time of COVID-19.
Okay.
Great. I'm just going to interrupt real quick. I see Jackie Marati from Bank of Guam is also on the call. Jackie, did you have anything to lend to this conversation right now for banking? Thank you. I see she's looking at unmuting her. Eileen, can you unmute Jackie, please? Sorry, just give us a second. I believe you can just click, there you go.
There it is. Okay, yes, thank you very much. And thank you, Pika and Holly and Eileen for putting this together. This is really important. I really don't have anything to add to that, but I do have some questions about both programs, because I think, particularly as small business owners, I think we are all really concerned about our credit worthiness afterwards. And I wanted to find out, maybe either Pika or Angel can help us out on the COVID, the EIDL, as well as the PPP programs. Will the credit reports be pulled on the small businesses, and how will that affect their plans moving forward?
So Ms. Jackie, I can add some of that information to there based on our call with the SBA. So what it is there, I'm glad that you brought that up, that there are possibly some small business owners that are concerned about their credibility. I'm sorry, not their credibility, their payability, and then also their credit scores, and how is that going to affect them in the long term? And then also, do they have existing loans currently? So how EIDL was formulated is basically Congress, as well as the U.S., it's the Group for Entrepreneurship. I'm sorry, I know their name exactly. There's so many different committees that it gets a little vague. So what they wanted to do is just provide immediate relief. So if it is that you have a small, this is relative to EIDL. So if you already have an existing SBA loan, they're just requesting to still provide your financial statements so they can be able to review that and look at any existing loans that you have to be able to see what is your payability. But they're also not discouraging people from doing that, because if it is already showing that you've had difficulty making ends meet as a result of the start of this situation, this is being able to provide that immediate relief. There is options for EIDL where payment for your first payment for your loan won't be until a year after. You have up to a year to repay, to start the loan payments. To be clear, EIDL can give you flexible repayment options up to 30 years. The Paycheck Protection Program, should a small business owner get approved for that, Congress has put a cap on the loan repayment to be up in 2 years. So again, interest rates are different, you know.
I guess going back to the original question, and that has to do with, as a small business owner, will my credit reports be pulled for both of these? when I apply?
So they haven't gone into exact details with the rest of our SBA and SBDCs as to what the process is. They've really only given us information as to the application process. Anything that comes after that is the loan officer's discretion. Should they need additional information, they will pull that and let them and be in contact with the applicant.
And in the case of the EIDL, that's a national loan program, so that loan officer, not non-local loan officers will be looking at that versus 2, which is the PPP. Now, my other question is, when is COVID considered to have started? You know, is it when the governor declared the public health emergency? Is it? I mean, because like a small business, when will I have considered my business, or when will I have considered my business to have been to be impacted?
So I'd have to get back to you on that, Ms. Jackie, because on our Congress, on what's being provided, it says January 31st, 2020. So I know that at least for Guam, we weren't declared into a state of emergency into beginning of March. So again, that all depends on, you know, each of the territories as well as other states have different applications. So let me get back to you on that. And then I will get with Mr. Ken Lujan and get some information as to some clarity on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'm being asked those questions as well. And so
no, yeah, I'm sure you are. A lot of our banks, a lot of the institutions, if they're not so sure, because the legislation was put out, you know, just recently. So everybody is still kind of, so really what's the process, and it's continuously changing. I know our local SBA office has been continuously round the clock receiving lots of calls and requests for that. So I think if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Jackie, I can get with Ken Lujan, but I think he did have a call with Mr. Kevin Camacho.
Right.
I'll check with him and see if he can provide any updates on that, because I know there are recent updates for the PPP program.
Yeah. And again, I think that the key question for all of us is, when will we have considered this period to have started? Because then we can start, you know, putting our if we haven't already begun, putting our documents together.
Right. That's a good question. I will check with Ken on that.
Thank you, Jackie. And then, and all the questions that are asked throughout this that we need to get feedback with, we will definitely be emailing that out to our members and putting our social media. So we'll have we may even have a follow-up Zoom as well, because things are changing. So we are getting some more questions in the chat box that I want to be able to have the facilitators actually answer and respond to. But before I go to that, Pika, did you have anything else to add through the application process that you were speaking about? I think it's important that we see somebody who's already gone through the process on that side. Thank you.
Sure. I'd say for both, when you're getting ready to fill out the application for the economic injury disaster loan, this is the one that's all online. You gather all of the information you need before you start, because once you start the application, you cannot save it and go back to it at a later time. Okay, so just get all the information. And really the information you need is pretty basic. You need all of the information about your business, your EIN number. Some of the things that took me a little bit more time to gather, which I'm sure probably for you too, that you don't really have right at your fingertips, is you need all of the business owners' information, including their social security number, their date of birth, and where they were born. Also their home addresses. So that was one, all of the owner's information. And then 2 other things that I was able to get on my QuickBooks, because I do all the bookkeeping for our businesses myself. So the first thing that you have to figure out is, what was your gross revenue for the last 12 months? So I just went to my QuickBooks and ran a quick profit and loss report. And the timing I did was based on the timing that it asks in the I think it's in the application. So basically from February 1st, 2019 to January 31st, 2020. And I think that has to do with what Angel was saying. January 31st was the national COVID emergency disaster day, I guess. So you have to get your gross revenue for those 12 months. It's just one of the fields that you input. And then the second one that you'll have to look at for that same period is your cost of goods sold. Okay, so those are the two numbers you'll have to get from your business, whether you have to reach out to your bookkeeper or your bookkeeper, I guess. And then, so that's the one for the online to apply, just so that you're ready and you don't kind of get halfway and have to stop and have to start all over, because it does not save. Excuse me, the Paycheck Protection Program, this is a, you can either print out the application and fill it out by hand, or Bank of Guam was very kind and they sent a fillable version for their, for the Paycheck Protection Program application. And this one, I think it's just 2 pages of, to fill out. Again, it's all the business information, but the numbers that you'll have to get for your business is based on your payroll. So the numbers you have to figure out is you have to get a year's worth of your payroll, expenses, and then you have to find the monthly average. So again, if you're looking at your profit and loss report that you ran for the COVID application, if you look at your payroll expenses for that same time period, you get that total number and divide it by 12 to get your average. And then you put that in the first box there. And then you take that number and you multiply it by 2.5, and it tells you on the application, multiply it by 2.5, and then that gets you the loan amount that you may be eligible for.
Wait, I got a
Okay.
question. I have a question.
Yes. Sure.
Going back, is the application that we download for the Payroll Protection Program application the same application that the Bank of Guam has sent out to their commercial customers?
Yes.
So it's the standard application that you're speaking about that we pulled from the SBA.gov. Bank of Guam, an example would be like what Bank of Guam gives out.
Right.
So Bank of Guam emailed me, and I'm sure a lot of others,
Well, I'm
a
a
fillable
commercial
application.
customer, but I haven't gotten that. So I have text our, emailed some people at the bank asking, is the application the same as the SBA application?
Yes. My understanding is it's one application for every bank, because the application that was forwarded to me was it wasn't a Bank of Guam application. It was a Paycheck Protection Program application from the SBA. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. And again, that application, along with a fact sheet about we're calling it the PPP, right? Paycheck Protection Program. Those were attached to the original Zoom invite email to all of our members. So you'll be able to go back to that email.
So you have all that. And just to interrupt real quick, Jackie's nodding, so that sounds like it's right. Do we have other banks online that are also doing that? I don't know if there's any other banks on the call right now, but I believe it's also, but just to ask a quick question, Jackie, do people need to have a Bank of Guam account to access this? No? Okay. No, okay. So okay, they don't need that, but I would encourage you if you want. We have Bank of Guam on the line, but yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, the local banks are all eligible to do this, and I know they've been reaching out to their customers as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so it is a standard form. We did attach that form. So yeah, so that's definitely something great. Sorry, go ahead, Pika.
Sure. So when you're submitting your Paycheck Protection Program application, at least for the information that I got from Bank of Guam, it's Kevin Camacho, was there were additional documents that had to be provided with the application. So that's another thing that you should be gathering and get ready to turn in with your application, so that you're not delaying the processing of your application. Okay, and so let me just pull up. You'll need to get a copy of your business license, your current business license, or a copy of your February GRT that you paid for your business. Okay, and then you'll also have to put together, sorry, just a second. You'll also have to document, let's see. You'll also have to give documentation along with your application that verifies the number of full-time equivalent employees on payroll, as well as the dollar amounts of payroll costs. So for me, what that meant was, okay, I just went to my QuickBooks and I put together a payroll summary report from my QuickBooks, and the date I put it for was February 1st, 2020. And I let every employee's name be shown along with the salaries they received for that paycheck. And I submitted that with my application so that the bank can see like really exactly how many employees I have and what everybody's salary was at that point. So that was another documentation that I submitted with the application. And then they also wanted documentation regarding mortgage interest payments, rent payments, and utilities. And so for that documentation, I used the same, I just submitted the profit and loss report that I had downloaded for the economic injury disaster loan. And I just submitted that so that they could see what I've paid for the last year and see where, I'm sure they'll be using all of that to do what their loan processing job is. So, and after I submitted that, I got a confirmed receipt from Mr. Kevin Camacho. He was really quick to respond. And then he said, okay, we got the application, and he had no other, I guess, requests for documentation. So again, they won't start processing it until tomorrow, and I imagine it's going to be another process. But I'm hopeful that this, the Paycheck Protection Program will allow me as a small business to pay my employees who have been out of a job since March 16th. All right.
Thank you so much, Pika. Yes, and please stay on the line. I just want to go ahead and read some of these questions now for you and Angel to answer, and anyone else on the call that might have the answers to these. So Jerry had a question, but was that your question, Jerry, that you had before? Or did you have a separate question?
Yes, and I'm just wondering, so if we prepare the application to submit for the PPP, how do we turn it in? Do we go stand in line? Do we send an email for an appointment?
I was able to submit it via email. So Bank of Guam has the email to send it to is commercialbanking@bankofguam.com.
Is
so
that
I was able to submit everything by email. Sorry?
That's not on the application then, right? Because the application is generic. Was that through your email that you received?
It was.
Yes.
It was through the email from the Bank of Guam telling us as their commercial banking customer about this new program. So you send it, they were able to receive it via email. One thing that I want to just point out that you're going to realize is the fillable PDF that I was provided and that was attached to the email to the membership. You cannot save any information that you put into that form. Mm-hmm. So once you fill it out, if you don't have like Adobe Acrobat, what you got to do is you got to print it so that the form prints out with all of the information, and then you sign it and then scan it and then get it back in electronic format, completed and signed. Okay, so that, yeah, that's just like one caveat. You have to be careful. You can't save it after you've typed in the form. So print it, sign it, scan it back, and submit that one.
Unless you have Adobe Acrobat, then you can.
Unless you have Adobe Acrobat, yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you don't have a scanner, you can, I'm sure you can take pictures of it with your phone and send it that way too. So as long as you have an electronic copy. So, but if you don't have a printer at home, maybe just get the free Adobe Acrobat trial for 14 days and use it for this for now. So yeah, so that might be something to consider. But thank you. That's good to know. Absolutely. And then the other banks and the Guam Women's Chamber too, we can reach out to the banks to try to get the information on all the emails on who your bank is with, to email that form out to it. And then Jackie, if you could share with us that for Bank of Guam, that would be fantastic, so people know where to email it to. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through this list here. We also have a question from Jesse Rosario. Besides both programs coming from different sources, SBA/lender, what's the major differences with both? Both seem like they are used for the same things. Jesse, did you want to expand on this question at all?
Hi, ladies. No, I was just looking through both programs, and both of them seem like they can be used for payroll. They can be used for rent and everything that's going on with the businesses throughout this time. But which one would be better for different businesses, you know, or can we apply for both? And how do we distinguish between which one we're going to apply for?
Sure. You know, I can share how I've kind of decided how to use both to optimum advantage. So they're actually very similar. You can use the money for the same thing. What I decided was, let me just get my applications in, see how much money I will be eligible for either program. And if I am able to get loan money from both programs, I would strategize my spending of each money so that I can maximize the chance for the loan forgiveness. So for instance, the Paycheck Protection Program, you can apply for loan forgiveness if you use 75% of the funds for paychecks. So that's what I would do. I would use all of that money to pay paychecks, and I would shift, you know, the other expenses over to the economic injury disaster loan. And then, you know, see how that kind of plays out. So that's just how I've kind of strategized it in my head. At this point, I'm just kind of throwing everything I have out there, and we'll see what comes back. And, you know, in a perfect world, I would be eligible for both as much as I need. And then I could like easily do it. But I'm sure there's going to be some like tough decisions, and trying to figure out which money to use, or, you know, if I even do get both pots of money. So I think the key is you have to keep very good records. So if you've never set up a bookkeeping, now's the time.
Can I add to that?
Did that help? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So yes, the strategy that Pika has implemented is, you know, definitely a really good strategy to keep in mind, because, you know, you're right. As small business owners, you still have to think about the risk and everything that you're taking on to the company, because regardless, you still have to pay the money back. So let's just also keep that in mind, that, you know, we want to make sure that we're covering our costs, but the repayability. So to answer your question, Jesse, you can apply for both loans. If you're not sure if you want to apply for both, you can apply for EIDL now, and should you need funds later, additional funds, you can also apply for the Paycheck Protection Plan later, at a later time. The difference between the two is the PPP program has the loan forgiveness option. EIDL does not. Repayment plans, again, according to Congress, under PPP, the loan has to be paid back within 2 years. EIDL, flexible paying options up to 30 years. So the terms from your bank in terms of the PPP loan, you should definitely review that in depth before you really make a final decision, just so that you know everything, all the terms that you're going and the details of the repayment options that you have in taking out the loan. There's also on the EIDL, it is a fixed rate, interest rate of 3.75%. PPP, according to the new changes, the interest rate is at 0.50%.
Okay, does that help, Jesse? Okay, perfect. I'm going to move on to the next question. This is on from Ramona McManus. She says, just a question on PPP. Do the employees need to be the same employees, or is the test based on the same number of employees? For example, if a delivery driver resigns, but a new person is hired, will I still be 100% compliant? Mona, did you want to add to this question? Sorry, I'm not sure if I see her. There she is. Or do you guys have some way that you can answer this question while she's waiting to, you can unmute yourself, Mona, if you'd like.
What was the question?
You know, from my read of the PPP fact sheet, it says that if you decrease your full-time employee headcount, your loan forgiveness will be reduced. So to me, my read of that is it's the number, it's not the actual individuals. But, you know, I could
but
be
you
wrong.
still also have up to June 30th, 2020 to rehire. So in the event, so you mentioned that, sorry, I had to go back and read the question because I wasn't sure what it was.
No, she sent it to me privately. Sorry, I can share it in the...
Oh, okay. So it says, if a delivery driver resigns, a new person is hired, will I still be considered 100% compliant? So under the PPP, it says how much of the loan will be forgiven. Let me just read this to you. You'll owe money when your loan is due if you use the loan amount for anything other than payroll costs, mortgage, interest rate, and utility payments over the 8 weeks after getting the loan. You can also owe money if you do not maintain your staff on payroll. Number one, number of staff. Your loan forgiveness will be reduced if you decrease your full-time employee headcount. So that's what Pico was saying. But should you rehire in that time, you have until June 30th, 2020 to restore your full-time employment and salary levels for any changes made between February 15th through April 26th, 2020. So if you lost someone or if someone had resigned and you need that person as a key employee on your team, you still be in compliance should you rehire within the time frame.
It sounds like that fundings came out, now they want to rehire them, so that might answer some of those questions too. Another question from Joy, how do you calculate cost of goods sold for a service business, no inventory? Joy, did you want to expand on that, or do you ladies want to respond?
I can tell you what I did. So for my Hot Concepts is a restaurant consulting business that Lenny and I have. And I got to that question too. And I was like, wait a second, I don't have cost of goods sold. So I put 0. That is for the economic injury disaster loan application where that question is asked, and you'll have to fill that out. But they also do acknowledge that there are service industry businesses that are included. So to me, that means, okay, if they're including service industry, then I imagine cost of goods would be 0 for those as well. You know, things like I saw that there you could choose that you're an advertising agency or a marketing agency. So. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Angel, did you have anything to lend to that? As far as, should we enter 0 for service businesses then? I don't know where she went. Maybe she got knocked off. Hopefully she'll come back on. Oh no, there she. Oh, she had a call or something. She's not there. Okay, let me move on. Another question from Joanne Camacho: what banks on Guam can administer PPP? And then we did kind of talk about this before. There are other banks. Are all banks doing this? Are federal credit unions doing this? Does anyone have that answer at this point in time? Jackie, do you know? I'm not sure if she's online. Hi, Jackie.
Still
Oh,
on.
you're muted. Oh,
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, definitely go to your bank. It doesn't have to be the Bank of Guam, but go to the bank that you have had a long-standing relationship with, and they're more than happy to help.
Great. Okay. And Joanne, that's something that, like I said, we can reach out to and try to get more information on, because people, they just want to make it simple where they bank, right?
Yeah.
To what other banks are doing.
Yeah. You may even go straight to your bank's website and take a look. I'm sure they have something that's available.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that. And then this is from Jim. EIDL asks for bank account numbers. How secure is the site? Angel, you might want to respond to that one.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you asked that question because the site itself had been experiencing a lot of changes, blocks, and everything. But to our understanding, it is fully encrypted and it is safe to use. So prior to, if you go into the application now, for a couple of days, Guam and the CNMI had been blocked for a while because we just so happened to fall in the region of Asia where there may be some cybersecurity reasons. So they blocked us, they blocked our region for a few days until they got the IP addresses resolved. So for now, I would say that it is a very secure website. This is federal government. So my hope is they wouldn't be asking for this information if it wasn't secure, but I can also check with the SBA on that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sorry, if I could also.
And this is another question.
Sorry, Holly. Thanks. Gilda and Jim brought up a good point for this EIDL. That's an economic injury disaster loan that you fill out online. You will also need your bank's name, your bank's routing number, and your account number. And that's only if you select the option for the advance, the $10,000 to be considered for the $10,000 advance.
Okay, so that makes sense if they want to speedily send you direct deposits. Okay, but that is a good question because that is information that you don't necessarily want to give out all the time. So, okay, moving on. I have another question that was sent to me privately again. Sorry. If amounts from the loan are forgiven, does it appear on our credit history as a missed payment that was forgiven, a grant, or what? In short, how will this impact our credit rating and credit history? And I think this kind of aligns with what Jackie was asking as well. Do you guys have any input on that?
I will have to check with Ken Lujan at our local SBA office. Again, as far as what the process is after it leaves the application, we're not fully clear about that. So I will ask Ken that. That is a good question regarding the payability back and if that loan forgiveness, how that appears on your credit report. So that's a good question.
Okay.
Let me get back to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. And once again, we will be delivering all this information to you. Okay, another question. Jerry just wanted the Bank of Guam application in this chat. Are you able to add that, Pika? Or Eileen? I think Eileen, you have it too because we had sent it out to the members. So if you could please add it in the chat group here. This chat will not be saved, but you can download this chat before we exit the call, and then you will have everything saved in the chat. So we can attach files. So Eileen or Pika, if you could add that file, that would be fantastic in this chat. Thank you for that. And then a question from Jennifer. If we apply for the PPP loan, do we need to keep all employees on the payroll? What if we have to reduce work already and have no work for them to do? Do we still issue a paycheck if they stayed home and did not work? These are hourly employees who make $9 or $10 an hour. We are an at-will employer. So this is a great question. Did you want to answer this?
So I'm in the same boat as Jennifer. I'm I got my application in so that I would be able to ask those questions when my application came up. I'd be able to ask those kind of questions, but my hope is that I will be able to pay those employees that are sitting at home, because you know our restaurants are closed, and my understanding for this program is that it's meant to get our employees paid, whether they're doing the work or not. But again, that's my very elementary understanding without having talked to anybody at the bank or really gotten into the finer details.
Yes, I'm going to chime in on that with Pika. We had several clients ask the same question, that if you're an at-will employer and it's basically if they don't have any work to do, you know, what does that mean for me? Do I still have to keep them on payroll? Again, you know, as far as what the situation is, I agree with Pika. And then also what we've been, as far as information that's being provided to us with PPP, is Congress as well as the Senate is encouraging that we keep employees employed. Now, if it is that as an employer, you may have to reduce your rates as a result of it so that everyone still gets paid, that is a decision that the employer will have to make. But they are, as part of, in addition to that, I know this is off topic, but the stimulus checks that are coming for the $1,200 per person, again, that is also some kind of relief that we can look forward to for our employees. And then, of course, if they have children, they get $500 per child in addition to that. So I know this is not in regard to the PPP loan, but it is also, you know, just something to consider, that there's some also other sides of relief that are coming to our employees.
I can also add, like, you know, not what we've been talking about, but the unemployment benefits that the governor is working with Department of Labor to kind of get the program here on Guam stood up, so that Guam's unemployed can take advantage of the same federal relief, federal unemployment benefits that are coming down out there. I know it's going to take a little bit of time to stand up this program and get everything set, but that is another form of relief that is going to be coming down, hopefully for our employees whose hours have been reduced or are just straight unemployed. So something to keep in mind too.
That's good to know. Yeah, definitely getting that unemployment. We can keep you guys up to date on that as information rolls out. Another question we have from Cassandra Cruz. So I own a service business license in barbering and cosmetology that was established in November 2019. Barbering and cosmetology licenses fall under contract workers. I've been a cosmetologist for years prior to establishing my service license. When filling out the application online, how would I calculate my gross revenues for the last 12 months? Because for a majority of the time, I was a contract worker, not necessarily a business owner.
That's a good question. I actually don't know. I know in the online application for the economic injury disaster loan, there is a drop-down menu when you're describing your business. It says construction and contractors or something. So I don't know. Maybe Angela, you can help her with that question.
Is there a freelance selection as well, right?
So the EIDL does cover for sole props as well as people in the gig economy. So if you're a self-employed individual, EIDL does apply to you. You had mentioned that you were first established in November of last year, 2019. As long as you show that you've had revenues from that time period to now, again, that's part of your financial statements that you'd need to provide to your loan officer who's reviewing your information. Sorry, I'm just making sure I get all the details of what she's asking. But you are covered. Sole proprietors, independent contractors are covered under EIDL.
Okay, so almost she could apply for two different things, it sounds like, as sole prop until 2019 and then as business owner from 2019.
Hi, can I just chime in real quick? Sorry, this is
Absolutely, absolutely. Please do. Yes.
So I guess it probably would have been better if I just spoke about it. But so my business that I own is under an LLC. Because of the nature of my work, I needed that coverage. So my business is an LLC. It was established in November. However, I didn't, the business wasn't necessarily being used, I guess you can say, until January when I returned from a trip. That's when I started to make revenue, period. So how, I guess I'm trying to figure out how it all works out, because what I made within, between January and now would be a totally different number from what I made from, I guess now, looking back 12 months. So I'm just trying to figure out how I would fill out this application, because I don't own a sole prop. I own an LLC. It's a single member LLC. So
I think, Cassandra, I'd almost apply for what you were before you formed your LLC, because then you have all of the numbers. And I don't know, that would be my recommendation, to use those numbers and apply that way, rather than your newly formed LLC where you don't have all of the numbers to show what your real revenue was or your cost of goods. But I don't know, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I guess, what were you before the LLC?
I was just an individual contractor working for a salon, and it was commission-based, basically.
Did you have a business license, Cassandra, for yourself, or as a sole prop?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a business license as a sole prop?
No, cosmetologists are not required to own any licenses other than a cosmetology license, which falls under as a contractor.
Right. I would apply under those terms.
Okay. Angel, did you want to lend some to that as well?
Oh yeah. So we've had a few clients that had similar situations. So it would be helpful, actually, Ms. Cassandra, we can help you at SBDC to look more closely at your numbers, and then help you to decide how we can help you fill out that application based on the numbers that you have.
Okay. Sorry guys, would I have to contact you directly? Because I would want to go down there, but.
No, we're not open. We're not open to the public. All SBDC services are being provided virtually. So just similar to Zoom calls or to phone calls, email, this is how we've been providing.
Okay, that's perfect, because I really don't want to leave my house.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And Angel, this is a service that you provide at no cost, right?
Yes, the SBDC provides business counseling services to our clients at no cost. So if you need any additional help filling out EIDL, maybe there's certain questions that you have regarding your PPP based on your numbers, your situation in your business, it would be best to speak to a business advisor. There are 3 of us at this moment. There's Ms. Jane Ray, Fred Granillo, and then myself. So if one of us will be able to help you.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Angel. Yeah, and we will provide that information as well out to you guys, as SBDC is one of our partners. So we appreciate you guys working hard right now. Another question we have from Jesse Rosario again: as documentation for EIDL and maybe PPP, do we have to officially furlough employees due to not being able to operate and not knowing when business will start back up? That's a good question.
So the question is, do you have to in essence, right, lay them off or let them go if they're not being able to operate? Is that official documentation to say that you need these funds to rehire them? Is that correct? Is that technically what you're asking?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if we need that official document, an email to the employees or something saying that because we cannot operate due to COVID-19, you guys cannot work, and this is what we're going to use the funds for. So
it's good to keep your documentation there as an additional justification to your to your loan officer, but of course also your numbers will tell the story. If you're not receiving revenue during that period of time, then you obviously can't make payroll. So also having that justification as far as your numbers are concerned, and your income statements, your balance sheets, all of that information given the last 3 months or the last, how your company has been impacted and how that has affected your expenses to pay, whether it's payroll, your, if you have benefits that you're paying to your employees, that's also as added documentation.
Thank
Does that
you.
answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And just going back to Pika then, as a small business owner having to do this, is that something you had to do? Can we just kind of touch more on this? Because I think this is really important for people to know what to do right now. Oh, you're muted, sorry.
Just kidding, here I am. Yeah, so there was, you know, for our Pika's Cafe employees, there's, gosh, like, I don't know, nearly 100 employees. The office did send out a formal letter just telling all the employees, sorry, we're closed. We don't know what the next steps will be. I know HR is also, HR for Pika's is also keeping track of the unemployment benefits that's going to be coming down. And they, along with me, for my Kadu and Kitchen Lingo employees, we're keeping track of it so that whenever that does come down, if need be, us as a small business can provide whatever documentation the employee needs to apply for those unemployment benefits. Because I believe those unemployment benefits are, those claims are made by employees and not employers. But I'm sure there's some kind of documentation that they're gonna need to prove that the business hasn't been employing them. For Kitchen Lingo, there wasn't a formal letter or anything. It was basically just, you know, we talked to everybody on our team chat and said, guys, you know, we're gonna have to close, and, you know, stand by until we know more. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sure it's hard because on the one hand, like Angel was saying, you know, Congress wants us to keep people employed and that's part of the PPP so we can keep them employed. But on the other hand, a lot of you have had to let your employees go already, potentially, right? So it's trying to figure out that balance. And as we do get more information, we will definitely be setting up more of these groups if you guys find this beneficial. And I think it is because we're kind of talking through the process and as things come out, trying to help you guys navigate as you can. I know every paycheck counts, so you know it's important to do this. We do have another question here. A couple more questions. Are both programs on a first come, first serve? And that's from Tovez. And I'm assuming you mean the EIDL and PPP program. Did you want to add anything to this question? Or do Angel or Pika, do you know, are these on first come, first serve, or are they, what is the process, right? Because everyone's going to be putting them in right now, so.
So EIDL, the deadline to apply is going to be December 18th, 2020. But of course, it is still a limited pot of money. So the quicker you get your application in, the better. Again, it still takes time for that application to be reviewed. So the longer it may take for you to complete your application, you're further down the queue. So I would just highly recommend that as soon as you get your information together, that you go online, complete your application. So then at least once you submit your application, you'll get a reference number. And then it's, again, the clock will start from that moment that you submitted your application to when they would have an answer for you.
Mm-hmm. And do you know about the PPP one? Is that the same kind of process or is that handled differently?
So PPP, let me see, I'm sorry, there's all these different deadlines. PPP, I think it is open also until, because it is a 7A program, you just have to check with your lender, but for the most part, I know it's a revolving debt.
Okay. So are there any, do you know, there's any priority listing on these? Are there any, like, you can get bumped up somehow, or is it just put it in and as they review it, it rolls out.
That's correct. It's just as
Okay.
it gets entered into the system, the quicker you have to get a response.
Okay. Pika, did you have something to add to that? Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so I think yes, it is first come, first serve from what Angel was saying.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Another question from Jennifer Nelson. So employees have a layoff letter and apply for unemployment, and at the same time our business applies for PPP. How does that work? Sorry, she just sent it to me privately.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's a good question, because I've also been trying to figure out, you know, how these different programs kind of interact with each other. Because I don't, I mean, you know, employees. So the question is, you know, if we get this PPP and we're paying our employees, what does that mean for their unemployment claims? I don't know the answer, but what I'm hoping is that in time it'll all flesh out. So, you know, let's say I get to the PPP loan approval process and I figure out, okay, I have 2 months worth of paychecks that I can pay out, and the start date for these paychecks will be April 15th. So from April 15th, I have 2 months of paychecks that I've gotten the loan for and I pay out to my employees. But then I also know that from March 15th to April 15th, my team was unemployed. And so perhaps that is the time period that they can apply for those unemployment claims.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I think it's just kind of massaging it, right? Like figuring out how you can kind of put this puzzle together, but it's really, I think, apply for any types of funding that you can at this point in time, and then we'll kind of figure out how to put that puzzle together later. You know, there's any kind of little discrepancies, I think as long as you have documentation to back you up, that, you know, there'll be some kind of understanding to that. Maybe Angel, did you want to add anything to that question?
No, it's the same with what
Pika was saying.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Going back
perfect.
though
Okay.
to someone had asked for the deadline for the PPP loan. To avail of all the same rates and everything, including the loan forgiveness option, it's June 30th, 2020.
Okay. Okay. So do apply.
Yeah, do apply as soon as you can. But just so there's clarification, okay? Because a lot of people are like, well, what if I don't make that deadline by June 30th? So the PPP falls under the SBA 7A loan program. So if it is that, you know, you may have missed that window or you needed to request additional funds, it is still under the 7A program.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. All right. And let's see, we have some links in there as well. So visit Guam Small Business Development Center, Pacific, SBDC.com to request counseling. We can also send that out to you guys in an email. And then of course, we have, okay, that was a question I asked. Now I've asked all the questions in the chat group. Are there any other questions people may have now? If there are, can you please go ahead and unmute yourself? Or you can put another question in the chat box. All right. And some of you might not know the questions you even have at this point in time until you sit down and go over the forms and start filling things out. So there are resources available to you. Like we said, you can go ahead and you can contact SBDC to get counseling done virtually to help you through the process. There's other people, of course, like Pika, that have done this process that are willing to share how they're working and navigating the system as a small business owner. And of course, Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce, we do have a landing page, if you are not aware of it, for COVID-19 information. So please do check out our website. Eileen, can you add the link in here, please, to the chat group? And then we can also send out an email for that. We are releasing information as we go through, and we're updating our website. So we're continually updating our website with resources for you. So please do visit our website throughout the week if you want. There are new resources that are posted there. We also will be emailing you guys just frequently throughout this time with new resources that point back to the website, and we'll be releasing more of these Zoom sessions for conversations that we feel like would benefit your businesses. and just throughout the process. Thank you, Pika. So she went ahead and shared for the PPP for Bank of Guam. That is the email address, commercialbanking@bankofguam.com. Once again, before I close out this session, go ahead if you would like, and you can click on the chat box, and you can click the little 3 ellipses to the side, and you can push save chat if you want to save all of these questions and any of the links that were shared. Yeah. It will not automatically save, so you might want to do that. We are also recording this session, and we were not able to go on Facebook Live with the session at this time, but we will stream it on Facebook Live, so there may be some more questions being added. Thank you, Angel. She also added home.treasury.gov, and for more information on PPP, she has the entire link there. I won't read it out. You guys got it right there, and we can share that as well. So anyways, I really appreciate the facilitators on this call today. Pika and Angel, thank you so much for coming on to share, Pika as a small business owner, your process of going through the system. And then of course, Angel on the other side as far as being on the administrating side. I think this was really good to have both sides and just for you guys all to have in this call. So thank you so much once again for coming on the call today. Thank you for all of you out there for being on the call today. And please do let us know any more questions that you have that you would want to see in Zoom groups like this or on Facebook Live that we can answer for you and provide more information.
I'm sorry, may I just ask a question?
Sure, absolutely. Go for it.
In regards to the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, is there a format where there's a breakdown of what it's applicable to? Like, for example, a business loan. I mean, I just built out a new salon and I pulled out a business loan in November. And of course, hair salons are closed. So is that loan applicable to that?
I believe that you can use the loan proceeds to pay for interest on the loans. I think, but I'm not too sure. So for instance, for Kitchen Lingo, we have a loan with Bank of Guam that I was able to apply for the 3-month loan forgiveness, or I'm sorry, 3-month loan deferment. So for 3 months, I do not have to pay the principal of the loans, but I will have to continue paying the interest payments. And then after the 3 months, I pick up right where I left off with the principal and interest payments paid monthly. And then the end of my loan is just extended for 3 months to account for the 3 months that I deferred this month, during this period.
Thank you.
Great, great. One question I just had real quick before we jump off too is this applies, all of these loans applies also to nonprofits. Is that correct? Because they are a business?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Okay, that's good to know. For those of you who may serve on a nonprofit or on a nonprofit's board as well. So these can apply to nonprofits. Great. Are there any other questions before we log off today? Yes, Jackie's got one. Okay. We can't hear you, you're muted, sorry.
Yeah, okay. This is a really good service, but what I really wanted to encourage everybody to do is if you have these issues with either making payroll or your businesses are closed or businesses are cut, please approach your financial institutions as soon as possible. It's important, it's critically important to reach out and let them know you need help. Don't wait, don't wait. Okay, we've seen this happen before, so the sooner you're able to talk to your officer or whomever, the sooner everybody, all the bankers can start working to see how we can help you. So that's the most important message. If you're suffering now, please reach out.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, and it's really important for all of us to be proactive at this point in time, even if it seems overwhelming. I hope this call helped it be a little less overwhelming. I definitely feel a way less overwhelmed after this conversation today and getting some answers, because I think we all have these similar questions, right? So they are streamlining the processes to be as simple as possible. We have a wealth of resources to reach out to, like your financial institutions as well. If you don't know how to go through the forms even, I'm sure there's people that can help you with that. So thank you once again. Any other final questions we have before we go off then? Okay, and like always, you can send us information, emails to Guam Women's Chamber, as well as putting on our social media if you have any questions, and we can respond to that. Once again, thank you so much for Pika and Angel for being on the call today. And please do let us know if you have any more questions, and we will be sharing this recording. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, guys.
And stay safe.
We're all in this together.
Absolutely, absolutely. Stay safe. I hope your families are all doing well. And yeah, just let us know if we can help in any other ways, because I know it's also, if you're home caring for someone, it can be quite taxing. So please do stay safe.
Okay. Adios.
And bye.